What's up, everybody? Alex Smith here, CEO of Spartan Elliott Army, along with Mr. Mike Thooft, running one of the baddest, biggest divisions, Tycho Energy within Spartan Solar, absolutely dominating. What's up, Mr. Thooft?
How we doing? I'm
Doing
excited
good.
for this. This is going to be fun.
This is going to be fun. This is going to be Thooft's first podcast, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So he was asking me, he's like, what are we going to dive into? I'm like, we're just going to dive into things I'm genuinely curious about because I think that's what other people are going to hear about. Does that sound good for you?
Yeah. I'm a genuine person, so let's get into it.
We're going to start ripping. So I want to take people back in time first. I think that's one of the best things to do because not too many people have been in the industry for this long. There's some that have, but a lot of people have had a long past, right? Whether they were in the car dealership industry for a while, or whether they were in, it doesn't matter, whatever industry for a while before they made a change in their life. So let's go and look back at your history in solar. I believe you've been in it for just about the same amount of time as me, right? Like 7 years?
Yeah, going on 7 years. That'll be 7 years in February coming up here. So about 6.5 years right now.
So talk to me. What got you first in the mix?
Yeah, so my background initially started hospitality, working in as a bartender, nightclubs, Topgolf. So hospitality, customer service for sure. And then first sales job was actually digital marketing sales. So a lot more over the phones, dealing with a lot of rejection. Had the opportunity to get into solar. Even, I think you've talked about in a previous podcast, the commission 6 or 7 years ago is a lot different than it was now. But, I just saw the opportunity. I was like, I can go around and save people money on their electric bill. And, if I close one deal a week, that's like $80,000+ a year. Right. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I can get people to do that. So that was really the start. Coming into.
You were told, I'm guessing someone just told you, like, hey, this is the deal. And you just mentally were like, well, that means I can make this, the money I'm making and more. So this is a logical transition for you, right? It was like, that's not a lot to sell to be able to make a good living.
Yeah, definitely. And it was two of my friends, best friends, Eric, best friend and, business partner for the last, 3 years now, or 6 years actually. And, he was in the industry first. When they first started, they worked with an installer. In the first 4 months, none of the deals actually installed. They never got paid. Perfect. So they were trying to recruit me to come into solar, and they weren't getting paid. I was like, hey, I don't think this is for me yet. But once the paycheck started coming through and they worked with a different installer, I was like, hey, this is definitely something I need to make a switch. I was very complacent in the role that I was in previous to that. And so once getting into the industry specifically, I didn't have necessarily, the training was more in the office, right? And then I would be going out with Eric, we would knock some doors together, run some appointments, but it was, literally get out there and, figure it out. And then, I saw the owner of the previous company, run probably a handful of appointments. And then we would run appointments. And if we had questions, we would get him on the call, get him on the phone, and he would close them over the phone.
Dude,
and that's really how I learned.
Isn't that crazy though, thinking about it? Because I went through the same thing. I didn't know anyone else existed in solar 7 years ago. So the fact that now, and what we're doing, we have some of the most talented leaders, including yourself, closers, setters, every part of the process, recording, in my opinion, the most gangster, badass solar training in the industry, all under one umbrella, along with Andy Elliott. So people now have like this massive hack, and there's a lot of other groups out there that are providing excellent training that people are able to really hack time. Because back then, me and you,
super sheltered.
The people we were with, no one else existed, right? Yep. One, there's nothing being posted on social media about solar, that's for sure. I think I was one of the only people posting anything about it, and all my friends and peers from college were just like, dude, what is this solar thing? Yep. Stop talking about solar. And now everyone has this cheat code, and we're trying to provide like the ultimate cheat code here, right? Do you feel like we're trying to put together something that allows people to be able to grow and scale infinitely faster? Because at the end of the day, no matter where you go, you're only going to be as good as the training you get. And a lot of times in-person training is going to be best, and that's always provided. But what do you think separates going from just the in-person training to adding in, this next level of training that people can get free online, that people are able to get through the ether that we're experiencing today? Because it's made solar very different. And it's made the numbers of what people hit very different than what they were 7 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. The lid is constantly moving up, and that has to do with people having those resources at their fingertips, right? And like you said, there's a lot of free training out there right now. There's obviously training that you can pay for. And you're really seeing people move up at a rapid rate, specifically the ones that want to invest in themselves, but the people that put the time into actually being students.
Yep.
Right? Obviously, there's hard work involved. Like a good work ethic is a big part of it, but you also have to work on that skill set to make this more of a game and make it a lot easier. And, you know, specifically, I mean, we were just doing training videos. All the, you know, the top leaders at Spartan are putting training content together for the team. So like, not only is there other, you know, training that they can do outside, but to have that resource within a company is extremely, extremely important, because when you have a nationwide company, you can't always sit in a close with that individual. You can't see their closing process. You can't knock a door with them. So to be able to have that at your fingertips for individuals that are performing at a super high level throughout the entire country is just invaluable at the end of the day.
Because what was your, and I want to hear these numbers too from you, because my first month, I think I threw down 12 accounts. That was my first month. First year I did 112, which isn't bad, but that was the best in the company.
Yep.
That was the best I ever heard of. So for me, it was, you know, once I got to that 112 and once I got to that number, it was, you know, I separated myself from everyone pretty quickly. And back then, what were the numbers that you guys were hitting versus the numbers you're hitting today? Because I really want to get into like what makes a winner. And a lot of it is what I see you do. And we've talked about this before, but you seek the information, you grab the information, you grab it by the horns, and then you go act on it. You don't just let it slip by, and you constantly do that. No matter how good you've gotten, if you hear Soriano dropping some lines, you're grabbing them. And most of the people that throw down volume like you and can hit massive numbers, dude, they just are like, nope, this is it. I'm good. Obviously it works, and it does work, but they don't have that student mentality. So talk to me a little about two things. One, what were the numbers you were seeing back in the day versus some of the numbers you're seeing and experiencing now?
Yeah, so, you know, when we first started, I think the goal was, you know, got to do a couple deals a week, right? And then, you know, if you're a top performer, you're doing 3 to 5 a week. We always looked at things on a weekly basis, right? Now, the consistently doing, you know, 3 to 5, that was the thing, is like, that was a good week. You weren't doing that usually consistently over a month. So I know, like, Eric and I specifically, when we had a team and we had some setters, that we did 37 deals in 1 month. And like, that was awesome, right? That was a big month.
Oh yeah.
You know, to have 3 deals or 5 deals on the week, but it was tough to keep that consistency, right? Because even being a little bit younger, I think the biggest issue that we have in the industry is complacency in terms of the amount of money that people can make. Even back then when commissions were a lot lower, you know, coming from bartending and making, you know, $70,000-$80,000 a year, and then now even making $2,000-$2,500 on a deal, and you start putting up some decent volume, you get complacent, right? And we, being the leaders within that organization, there wasn't a rabbit to chase. There wasn't, you know, an opportunity for us to continue to push the lid in the ceiling. And then I think that really changed when Eric and I started our own business and started Tyco Energy.
And how long ago did you guys start? Because I mean, me and you crossed paths about 3 years ago, right?
Correct.
We crossed paths then at an event, and that's when we really connected. And it's the reason I think we really connected is just because I felt like you were super genuine. You were very curious. I like people that are curious because I'm a curious person as well. Like what works and how can I apply it, especially if I'm not hitting what I want to hit. And super authentic, you and Eric. Like, I think that's why we connected from the beginning. There was no, I want to get this out of you. There was no, it just didn't have any of this stuff where I just have this mask on of how great I am, right? And some people put that mask on and they want to hold on to it forever. And there's moments where you got to have that mask on, right? Because you're fucking great, right? But when you started the company, it was about 3 years ago, right?
Correct.
So we started about the same time. So I'm excited to hear about this because we've never really talked about like your journey, because I know what it's like for me. And I've talked about it. But what was your journey like from the day you first decided to start your company?
Yeah, so we decided to start our company, Eric and I, and this was actually on my birthday in February. And that was February of 2020.
Okay.
COVID was 2 weeks later. So opportune time to start the company. We literally, I think, had maybe a month of knocking under our belts before then, you know, we kind of transitioned. Looking back, I wish we would have knocked through the whole thing. We took about a month and a half or 2 months to try to dial on the phones. Really, a majority of our success came from working prior leads that we had from the doors. So it was me and Eric that started for the first little bit. Then we brought on a really close friend, because he was in the hospitality industry as well. Everything was shut down. So this was a huge opportunity for him to take a new path. And then it probably wasn't till like things a little slow down after COVID that we then started recruiting and growing a team. But it was definitely a slower first year than I think that maybe we expected, but there was definitely still growth. Second year really started growing some more. Third year, obviously even better. But I think a big thing that really, when Spartan, came to the Arizona market, I was actually coming back from my first trip in Europe, and Eric calls me like 2 days from it. He's like, "We got to talk." He's like,
what a crazy thing to come back to, by the way, huh?
Yeah, it was wild. It was definitely like, because I knew you guys were obviously expanding. We've had a close relationship for a while now, and like you mentioned, we've always worked well together. At some of those events, and we work closely in terms of training. We bounced ideas off each other. We've implemented a lot of things in our company that you guys were already doing at Spartan. So when I heard that you guys were coming to Arizona, I was like, all right, we definitely need to see, what this is all about.
If there's a win here.
Yeah, if it's a win, and
a win-win. Let me be clear, win-win.
Win-win for sure. And let me be clear. Like, I tried to poke holes in this every different way possible, right? Because it's obviously we've been working hard to build our own business and our own brand, and
by the way, you did have your own business, and the reason I wanted to highlight that. There, and I've seen this in person now. They weren't just a group selling solar, right? Because they had a true operations. You have people working on the back end that are excellent at what they do, by the way. Like Ashlyn, and when I met them, like, these people really care. Yep. They're very good. They're paid well. You have office spaces. You have this personnel. You've created systems. So it's not like, because there's some people that'll come over to me and hit me up like, yeah, we do 20, 30 a month. And you talk to them, and there's nothing there. There's literally nothing there besides those sales. So you're coming from a place of running a true business, which I think is an important part of it, because that led into, that made it a lot more difficult of a decision to make this kind of move, I would imagine, because you built something and it's amazing.
Yeah, and obviously things were growing, right? And like you mentioned, the systems was a big part of it. We really looked at this as a business and not just let's go out and slam deals, right? And then just figure out what happens. Like, we were very intentional on building out processes for recruiting, building out processes for a back end, handling payroll completely, in-house in terms of project management, recruiting, assistance. And it was just really important that we provided that value to the team, doing different retreats and so forth. But one of the things that made sense with Spartan was not only the opportunity with, the installers, which we knew were quality installers because they're installers we were already using.
You introduced us.
Yeah, and we introduced you to one of them, which was a huge part of that relationship as well, and that move over. But I think the environment and the culture and the competition that comes within that, I knew was exactly what the team needed to take this to the next level, right? It's not necessarily.
You hear what he said, though? He said what the team needed. And that's an important distinction, because there's times where people just think about what I need or what's best for me. And oftentimes, like, there's a short-term sacrifice on, right, the amount of cents you might be making, right? That exists there. But is that a sacrifice, right? Like, you've all heard the expression, you got to give up to get up, but what kind of additional people and resources are you able to tap into in that exchange, which creates the win-win. But I just want to point out the fact that he brought up that this is what my people needed, because every great decision I've made and every great change I've made in my company, right, our company, and in previous companies, all the decisions have always been in the best interest of my people. Yeah. And it's just so important, and it's refreshing to hear that, because people don't talk like that anymore.
Yeah, and I think, from a full transparency perspective, like, I hold the value that I can sell at a high level, right? And I could definitely make more just selling than, when we were running Tyco and running a business. Like, a lot of people look at it as like, oh, you run a business, like, and they think that there's a lot of financial gains that necessarily come with that. When you're in the first 3 years of starting a business, like, you're dumping everything back into the business to continue to help that grow and provide value for the team. So, like, this was really a great opportunity for us to be able to provide more opportunity to the team and also allow Eric and I to do what we are best at and be leaders for our guys and be in the trenches with our guys.
Owners are so hesitant, because I bring this up to people that own dealerships all the time. It's like, dude, I know this probably just as well as you know this, and it's something we don't talk about with our people. It's something we don't like to talk about on social media, which is the fact that everyone thinks we're making this much money because there's this many deals here. They think that's just like this massive amount of profit, right?
Yeah.
That's just like the assumption. Yeah. And what the reality is, it's very different. Especially when you have a partner and you have other people involved, like the reality of what's actually being made is a lot different than what people expect. And we don't really, and I don't think anybody really wants to talk about that fact, just because everyone wants to be looked at as if they're doing amazing at all times.
Correct.
And the truth's not always that. And knowing that it's not the case, it's because when you're running a business, and if you're really in it for the people, what do you end up doing? You end up investing so much money into bringing out the best trainers. You end up investing so much money to have the best tech platform. You know, people on your payroll that are expensive, right? They're worth it, right? But they're expensive. And no one sees that side. And also people don't realize that just because someone sells 100 accounts doesn't mean you got 100 installs. And it's often missed because everyone else, especially newer reps, they just think that everyone that's running a business is making this massive spread. And I wanted to bring that to light because I know you've dumped so much money, because I've seen you at every freaking event. You've dumped so much money back into building yourself, which I think is where most of the fun comes, right? Building yourself and then creating an environment where people get to tap into people in their network that allow them to elevate quickly.
Yeah, and you have to understand that investing in yourself is investing in the team, right? Because if I can only provide so much and then I'm limited, that's only what I can provide to the team at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that is an important part of it, is continuing to invest in yourself, being a part of these different networking group and training programs, and, you know, making sure that you can give back to the team and that aspect. But when it comes to the business side of it, like, you know, and you brought it up earlier when we first met at that first event, like, I pride myself on being a genuine individual and also like transparent, you know? So like, I've had conversations with the team where it's like, hey guys, like, these are the adjustments that we need to make because there's a lot of money going out into these avenues and resources, right? And that was like a conversation that we had when coming to Spartan. It's like, hey, there's going to be a lot of things that are changing. They're all going to be in your guys' benefit, and there's going to be some adjustments that are made here and here to make sure that we do that. So I think just transparency is something that is getting lost nowadays, you know, and I think that's something that is really important at Spartan. I know Andy preaches that as well. So, you know, that was also alignment. That's a big thing in terms of alignment. I know, like, we've always been super straight with each other, you know, the good and the bad.
Because everyone wants to, and it's part of it's probably social media, right? Everyone wants to hold the facade of them looking like they're on top, and there's moments where you are on top.
Yeah.
There's months where you're like, yeah, this is a good month. But then the reality is you don't want to change that facade. Like, you want to keep that look for as long as you can. And it's just because, and it's fine for the outside world, but if internally within your own teams, you can't communicate effectively, like you can't bring up the truth, whether it be good or bad, for people's best interests, including yourself, all you're doing is harming, and in my opinion, creating a lot of friction within about what you're doing, because your people don't know the situation you might be in, which I think it's important for them to have some sort of idea. So, because a lot of times they will understand, right? Yeah. And then you can go to war together, because otherwise you're fighting the war all alone. And transparency, in my opinion, the best thing it breeds is, of course, trust, but it breeds like togetherness. Because when there's transparency, especially when people see the vision and they are excited about the thing you're doing, what I've come to realize is if that's the case and there's transparency there, when there are issues, people are like excited to attack it together. When you're attacking it with an army of people, it's really easy. It's a lot easier than, and I used to try to attack some of these things on my own. I don't know if you had experience doing that. Yeah. But what is, and this brings me into this question, is I've already shared some of my adversity, man. It's a blessing, right? Adversity is a gift, guys. I've said it a million times. I'll say it again. If you have the chance to go through adversity personally, professionally, or in business, which when I say you have the chance, I already know you have, right? You already gone through some shitty times. There's been some shitty moments where you expected to get this and you got that, where you thought this was going to happen and then this happened. There's all those moments, right? Or something happens in your family life. It's going to pour, and sometimes when it starts to rain, I've been hit over the head a lot harder than I expected. It's like one thing it's a domino effect, and it could go both ways, on the upside and the downside. So when we talk about adversity, I just want to know from because I don't think I've ever asked you this question. Dude, tell me the hardest moments of adversity that you've gone through and what came out of it. And it could be whatever, but like I really want to hear some of the things, because that's what makes the men I want to work with. I'm not gonna lie, that's what makes the men or women I want to work with is the adversity they've gone through. It's like, yeah, you've been tested.
Yeah, I think, and I can relate it specifically to solar at the end of the day. The first company that we worked with, things were going awesome. It was, back in the day, I think, Titan was like towards the beginning of Titan time, and we were partnered with Titan at the time, and we were like rotating in the top 5, between some of the big names that are still around today, and then we started expanding into other markets. I think certain markets were premature. There was expansion into other businesses as well, and then trying to start a call center, and even as like just managers and leaders, like we're dumping money into a call center, so. And the overrides were definitely, a little bit different structured back then. So like I said, the compensation was just completely different. And, ultimately as things were slowing down and recruiting, things started going on a downward slide, right? And if you're not growing, you're dying, right? And we were not growing. So we started putting ourselves, Eric and I, in a tough situation financially. And then that's where it really hit the breaking point that like, we needed to make a switch. Like if we're going to rebuild this again, right? Like we're going to do it on our own.
That's what came into creating Tyco in the first place.
Correct. Yeah. So, and, we still have a great relationship with the owners of the previous company. One of them are one of our really good friends, awesome guys. And but that's just sometimes how business works. Right. And so we were like, hey, if we're going to rebuild this again, like there's some things that we feel like we can do differently. So we decided to make the jump and start our own. But during that time, we were dead broke. Like,
wait. When you say dead broke, do you mean negative broke or dead broke? Dead broke is when people don't have credit cards, which I could go on a rant on that. I might have to touch on.
Oh, we're negative.
You're negative. Okay.
We're negative. Like I have tens of thousands of dollars in credit card debt. Eric's hiding his car in my apartment complex garage so it doesn't get repoed.
That's negative broke. That's real broke.
We would not be here today if it wasn't for my fiance. Like she was literally, buying us food, like helping cover rent. Like she was buying Eric protein pancakes, and he was making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches out of them. Like we were eating PB&Js for like the first couple months that we started Tyco. And
you started it right at the beginning of COVID while all that was happening.
Yeah. So that's like that would probably be, and that's obviously a great story, right? So it's like, and I think a big thing that,
wait, I have a question though.
Yeah.
When you were going through this, because I think about this a lot, honestly. When you were going through that and you were dead negative broke.
Yeah, negative broke.
When you're dead negative broke and you don't have anything, you're eating the PB&Js and you're just like hiding the car. Hiding the car. I've never had to hide my car. Hiding the car is a lot.
Yeah.
Did you at that moment, at any point in that time, just think like this is going to be a great chapter in the book? Like did you think this could be how it ends? Like where did your head go when it was that bad?
And that's what I was going to kind of get to, which all ties together too, is like, luckily my parents always really instilled like hard work. Like, like I started washing dishes at 15 years old, so it was like, I always wanted to work, wanted to get out there, and earn my keep in a sense, but I've never been afraid to work. So I've never was that hard for sure. But I also knew like we were going to come out the other side of it. Like knew we could sell deals. Right. So it's like, you just got to put in the work, you will get deals. And when we actually started Tyco, we transitioned to not only selling solar, but home efficiency as well. So like attic insulation, sealing the ductwork and so forth. So I was fired up for it. And the first few deals that I sold, first 5 canceled. I was like, this is not good, right? But I was selling more of the pleasure behind like, oh, now you're not gonna have hot rooms in the house, like, and just really building up the home efficiency side where I didn't sell on pain at all. So then people would wake up the next day with a $50,000-$60,000 loan and be like,
for a cooler room, yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't that I didn't build the pain, and it was just a quick change. But then again, that was being humble, and like the company that we partnered with at the time doing the installs kind of like told me like, hey, are you building any kind of pain? And I was like, boom, light bulb. And then things changed again. And again, that just ties back to always being open to new ideas and being coachable, but not being afraid to work. Like if you're afraid to fail, a lot of it is because you're afraid to not put in the work. Because if you're afraid to not put in, if you're not going to put in the work, you can't get better, because you can't be a student, you can't learn new things. So that was 100% a reason why we knew like it was gonna work at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
Why do you think some people, because I mean, you've obviously experienced this, but there's a lot of quitters out there. Let me just be straight up. There's a lot of people that quit as soon as something gets hard. I don't know if it's because they don't see the vision or the future. I really do believe it stems down to the belief in themselves, right? It's the belief in yourself that A, you can work hard. It's the belief that B, you could get out of any situation you put yourself in. Because I put myself in a lot of situations.
Yep.
And I'd say thank God for credit cards, because I actually think I might have died back I might have died back in the day, because it's like using other people's capital to get out of a sticky situation has been pivotal throughout my career. And I think it's how most businesses are built. It's how most people get out of these situations. So it is a huge crutch we have. So to have that as a lever that we can pull when needed, and then to tie it in with your belief that you can work through anything, makes you almost like a superhuman. Because then you could see, at least for me, when I've gone through those moments of adversity, I've always thought, that's why I wanted to ask you that question. I've always thought like this is going to be there's a moment of like I want to cry and die, right? Don't get me wrong, like that exists.
Yep.
But I've always thought this is going to be a freaking phenomenal chapter in the book. Like if this didn't happen, this book wouldn't be the same. And also, I wouldn't figure out what to do next to get bigger. So every time I've had like a lot of pain hit me, the pain hits, I sink in for a second, I let that happen. But then right when it comes to that point of, do you let it fester or do you just destroy it and go on? I always destroy it and move on, because I just realize this is like the coolest thing I'm going to be able to talk about down the line.
Oh, for sure. I have like screenshots of like the credit cards, like how much debt I was in.
You took screenshots.
Yeah, for sure. Because I was like,
yes.
this is going to be a moment that I remember, because I'm never coming back here.
Because I don't think people realize that so many successful people like yourself, like Eric, and a lot of other individuals we talked to, I'm sure even Andy, right? Like have gone through those moments where people think you're still doing okay and you're really not. Like you're not where you're supposed to be. There's so many of those moments. The success story includes a lot of the negative dead broke, I think.
I think a big part of it too is being open with the people around you, the position that you're in. Because like I can say right now, like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the support of Eric, if it wasn't for the support of my fiance, if it wasn't for the support of my parents, and not necessarily in terms of like financial support, but just like emotional support as well. And it's like a large majority of people that are successful have been through these hard times and put themselves in really tough financial situations. And sometimes you just need somebody to tell you like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're going to get through this. And then it's at that point that you really flip the switch, and it's like, okay, like I need to stop focusing on the negatives. And it's like, we're going to get out of this. And it's like, absorb, because you're never going to come back to this place again. So really understand what it feels like. But then now it's time to get after it, move on.
Because they believe in, I give me chills, honestly, just because it's like, when you talk about the support and people being there for you, it's like they're dumping their belief and their love and their support into you. What a disservice, what a disgrace, what a slap in the face to then go and crumble and not take action and not figure it out. Because you can figure anything out. But if you have people that support you and are trying to get you through something, and almost everybody has somebody in their life that does this for them, then to get that support, to get that love, to get that care in your hard, darkest hour and not make shit happen it's not about you. It's like now you're being disrespectful. You don't deserve the support and love anymore. But every time you get that support and love, it's like you can go change the world at that moment, because you can make something happen, because you just need one person to believe in you. Sometimes you're not believing in yourself enough.
And you brought it up recently. It's like we have that support here with Spartan.
Yeah.
Right. And, there's going to be times where maybe you start losing belief, when you're cranking, you're trying to do high volume or things are going on with your team. And it's like, that's when you can reach out to your leader, other people within the company across the country. It's like, I reached out to Sam a couple times, like shooting him texts as we were going head to head. And it was just like, we were constantly pushing each other, and it's like believing in each other that we're going to hit our goals. So it's like, it's awesome to have a family within the workplace, right? And the brotherhood in a sense.
Glad you're talking about that.
But also the part of it, and I think like I ties it back to the work ethic, like a pet peeve for me is if you want it, right, you have to put the work in, and you can't just complain about what you don't have, right? And Adam just mentioned this the other day. You are where you are because
you earned it.
Good or bad.
You earned the negative 10,000.
Yeah.
You earned the the belly. You earn the whatever. You're in the business situation. You have no sales for the month. You earned it.
And I think like we mentioned, there's the complacency within the industry where, you can get these big paychecks but people kind of lose sight of like what the true work ethic is. And if like people can have the work ethic, but then build that skill set up at the same time and keep it there, then that's where you can, really put yourself in a position for the future. It's like Eric, and I think that's something that kind of bothers Eric and I too. Sometimes we're bringing people on board and, it's like talking to Andy a little bit more about how to get ahead of that in the interview process is huge, because it's like, I don't beg somebody to go knock doors for like 5 or 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. Like, you're telling me you're working 25, 30 hours a week and you're saying that's a lot?
To change your life though?
Saying that's a lot? Yeah. It's like I had 2 jobs while going to college. I know Eric did too. There was one point where Eric had 3 jobs when he first moved out here after school, like sleeping 4 or 5 hours. It's like we've both been through it to get to where we're at. So it's like when people have this golden opportunity in front of them, but they're in the industry for 2 or 3 weeks and they don't have their script down.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are we doing? Like, you went to high school and went to college and you had to do a presentation in front of an entire class for free, or you paid for it.
You paid for it.
But this could yield you thousands of dollars and you still haven't memorized a script and basic objections that we run into every day. Dude. It's like the job, it's not that hard. It's just you have to put in the effort.
That's the same pet peeve I have. That's why it's so good to try to figure out how to weed out. And the main goal we have right now, and I'm sure we share the same goal, right? Because we've gone through the pain of, you bring people in, they talk a big game, and then as soon as there's a slight bit of adversity, right? As soon as things hit where it's like, I thought I was going to make this and I made that. Well, at the end of the day, you earned exactly what you earned, right? You earn everything you got. Yep. You can put the blame anywhere else, but if you believe you earned everything you have, whether it be good or bad, that allows you to take the right action and look at it for what it is. But finding the people that just don't quit, finding the people that got the dog in them is all that's all I care about.
Yeah.
And bringing in the full alignment, because we don't care about the production, right? We care about the people that don't quit. We care about people with the dog in them. They care about people that see the vision and are in alignment with our beliefs. And by the way, if that's you, if you do fall in that category, click the link below. There might be a number to text too, but for right now, just click the link below, because you can work with Thooft and Eric in Arizona, right? We have leaders all over the country that have figured this out. They figured out how to perform at a high level, and we're about to go into what allowed him to break some pretty crazy records this past month. But there's leaders all throughout the country within the Spartan Elite Army that you can tap into and learn from the mistakes and the hardships and adversity we went through, because you're going to go through adversity no matter what, but we can really limit it within this space because we figured out the good. We figured out how to do it good. And we've seen how to do it bad and what things you can do to avoid that. So click the link if you do want to learn from the best, and if you're not a quitter and you got the dog in you, because those are the only people I want to work with. I know those are the only people you want to work with.
For sure, 100%. I mean, we've had people that have had every type of experience possible doing this for 6 years now, and leading multiple teams and teams throughout the country. We've had people that come out and have an amazing hot start, right? And then maybe they slow down, they have to rebuild that, or people that start a little bit slower and then end up being the top producer. So, everybody has a different path, but if you don't quit, success is on the other side of that. 100%. We've like, somebody comes to mind right now, they had a great start and then it kind of started slowing down, but he literally said to me, like, I will not quit.
Yeah.
He's like, you would have to fire me before I quit. And then last month he literally had 4 deals in a day, set a personal record, and it's
live
like,
for those people, right?
Yeah, and it's awesome, and I love seeing that. But like, quitting is not an option.
Dude, those people give me so much energy.
Yeah.
Those people it's like the money and everything, whatever, it comes. But the people that have that in them and then they go and show the resilience, that's what makes this whole thing fun. That's what makes being a leader fun. That's what makes building fun. It's for those little glimmers of resilience.
And you said it's not about the money, it's about what growth happened during that time. Now to be able to look back at that experience and having like we've all had it, right? Having self-doubt and then coming out on the other side, it's those times that allow you to have more and more belief in yourself as you go through those experiences. So it's like you can't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Because when you fail and you come out the other side, that's how you're growing at a faster and faster rate. So that's why people always say, like, don't be afraid to fail. And that's the thing, is you will fail.
Yeah.
In this industry. Like, you're not going to nail every single presentation with a homeowner. You're not going to close every single deal. But every time those situations present themselves, you're coming out the other side better because you're analyzing what just happened and improving.
Man, it's like, who are you to not be able to get through those situations and believe in yourself? Like, what happened? I can't even imagine what really happens to that person. I wish I could follow someone's life, from the moment they quit something, right? The moment they quit, the moment it got hard and they quit. What happened the next time the moment got hard and they quit? Did they quit again?
Yeah.
Right? Or did they realize they can't keep doing this thing because it's going to lead to the next thing? Or do they just keep quitting? And is that the path you take for the rest of your life? And that sounds like a really tough path. That sounds like a very tough path rather than figuring out the resilience factor. But really what I realized, and this goes back throughout this whole journey because there's been a few stepping stones for me, is that having the people, the brotherhood, the support around you within the company that all freaking care, that all want it just as bad as you, that have all been through I love hearing the adversity, man.
Yep.
Because I'm like, dude, I can relate to that. We've been through it. We can go through a lot more now. We already know we can.
Oh, sure.
But having that around you at the company level, like that true brotherhood, and this includes women, right? It's just like having that around you is the most valuable thing in the world to me. Because the second the doubt creeps in, the second, like, there's just some of those days where you just are like, man, it's just, do I got it today? It just happens. And then having people around you that can feed you with, you got it, that can feed you with, like, no, there's another level for you, that can push you. Bro, that is like that is how I got rid of anxiety. That is how I got rid of depression. I used to experience those things, dude. I don't experience any of that anymore. I just don't. Like, I thought I was like stuck with that. And it was like debilitating. It could be crippling. And all of those things, which a lot of times is solved through medication out there, right? You take a pill and then you need another pill because you took that pill. All of those things went away when I started just having this group, like this tribe that all felt the same way. And it's impossible to find out there. That's why we had to create it, right? Yeah. That's why we're trying to bring in the top people everywhere. I'm so like fixated on that because I just don't know a better way to make sure that I can feel good every day and I can help other people feel good every day.
Yeah, well, your environment is everything, right? I mean, obviously people talk about that all the time, but I think an important thing that you said is like you couldn't find the environment that you felt was a good fit, so you created it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's awesome. I'm, gonna be in the best shape that I've ever been in already.
Hell yeah.
Pretty damn close at this point. And a big part of that 100% is just, being at the leadership retreat and just seeing, the opportunity and, you just feel better, you're happier, you perform at a higher level, you make clear decisions. And like, I already made those decisions. Eric and I both did at the beginning of this year, like cutting out drinking, smoking, like I haven't had caffeine either. And now I'm not going to say that's going to be a forever thing, right? But I wanted to see what baseline was.
Right.
Like I wanted to see like, what is my body? What are my decisions that I'm making? Like, what's my thought process like when I don't have any of these other things involved? But the biggest thing by far has been, going to the gym and just, pushing myself in that aspect, because obviously there's a lot of guys within the company that I really look up to, in that perspective, you being one of them, and it just pushes me every single day.
Having so many people growing at such a fast rate, like I'm looking around like, damn, are you about to try to pass me right now? I don't like that. Like it's like it's a good thing, but having that around me every day and you every day, I think so much about the food I'm eating right now, like not in a way that restricts me or a way that I'm like obsessed with it, but in a way that there's no way I'm gonna slack off when so many other people are trying so hard to be their best right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking about it, like I'm making some improvements here for sure and happy with it, and like talking to some of the guys that we were staying on the last Blitz house with, and then I come here and it's like, Soriano's up 12 pounds, Anthony was obviously sick, but then, he's put a bunch of weight on. God. Manly's down like 30 pounds. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, I'm not making big enough changes, and like Manly brought it up. He's like, when you're in these types of environments, like you just don't allow yourself to become complacent. And it's just, and that's a good thing to be, positive peer pressure. Like I
love that word.
Yeah, it's great because we're constantly pushing ourselves on a daily basis to be better because you're in the right environment. If you're in the wrong environment and it's pushing you to do the wrong things, then that's completely different, right? And that's what's truly special about what we have going on.
And I wanted to make sure we nail this down right here, okay? So we've gone through a lot of the past, what's made you who you are today, and I mean, there's obviously a lot more, but you just broke your own record by almost double, right? Your previous record was doing 24 counts in a month, which, by the way, if you guys aren't in solar, 24 counts in a month is no small feat. There's not a ton of people that have done that. Like, there's not. There's people that have done it, but there's not a ton.
Yep.
So 24 counts was already a great record, and I know you did that during a competition, so it was during something you wanted to win.
Correct.
So that gets you going. But then you came here, and this was your first full month with us, right? Us
Correct.
being together. And you hit 41 accounts, almost doubling your best record. What does it take, and what was the shift that allowed that to happen? Because I think there's a lot of people that have personal records out there in the industry, or maybe in the gym, whatever it takes.
Yep.
But there's a lot of people that have personal records where they just keep looking back at it as like, dude, I've had a 30 deal month, or I've had a 15 deal month, and it's always in the past.
Correct.
What happened to make this what went down in your head? What went down in reality? Give us this protocol, and hopefully include some things that they can just action on.
I think, law of the lid is, first and foremost, like the environment that you're in, and you have to be like in a competition. Like when I did the 24 deals within a month, like you mentioned, I was in a competition. I also won that competition that month.
Yes.
Right. So where this last time, it's like I had 41 and awesome, beat my record, but still didn't hit my goal. Like the goal was 50, Soriano did 50. So I'm like, I got to do 50. And, I think there's just a big part of it is to be able to hit these goals is being in an environment where you're surrounded by winners, right? And you're surrounded by people that are constantly pushing themselves and also support you in hitting your goals, right? When you're getting text messages of people, that want you to, to hit and achieve those goals, and even people you're competing with, you know? I'm a pretty nice guy, and even Manly
hates competing against, but he's like, I'm not fucking going against Thooft ever again because he's too nice. I like him too much.
Yep.
I can't get in the headspace with you.
Yeah, and I'm more of like, I'll prove it on the field type of guy, right? And I'll kind of like work in silence in that regard. But we were pushing each other. We were constantly texting each other and making sure that we were pushing each other towards the goals. But routine is a huge part of it. By far, I think that's probably the easiest, most implementable thing that you can do when you're trying to hit goals, or you're just trying to better yourself as a human. Is humans are creatures of routine, right? So like when, this month it was, going to the gym every single morning, like we're on the Earn It All app. So it was literally our entire house of guys were getting up at 6:00. We were in the driveway at 6:10 doing 25 burpees, waking ourselves up. We were going to the gym at 6:30, wrapping up at the gym at 8, coming back, having breakfast, and then going out to the field, right? And then, we were working all day out in the field, and then we'd come home, we'd have dinner together, we'd recap our days. If we weren't getting the results we were looking for, we would have conversations about that, addressed it, make adjustments the next day, watch training videos if we needed to, or certain people on the team, we all did it together.
A lot of what I'm hearing is like everyone on the same page, because
alignment. There's the
routine that you just do, but you did it with a bunch of other people. Like there's a part of the routine that's important here, which is the fact that you're doing it with a group of people doing the same thing.
100%. There's mornings that I did not want to get up and go do burpees in the driveway, right? But it's like I'm not letting these other guys down, because I'm sure if I feel like this way this morning, there's a couple other people that do as well. And me not showing up, just what does that do? I'm letting them down. At the end of the day, when you have people that believe in you, you can't let them down. But yeah, working, obviously you can accomplish things as an individual, but accomplishing things as a team, and it's way more fun. It's exciting, being a part of a team atmosphere. But creating a winning routine, I think, is super important. But then also you have to have the belief, right? Like I said, I didn't hit the goal that I wanted, but I still crushed my best month ever.
Right.
So setting high goals, having a routine, and then you just have to have delusional belief when you're out there that, like, specifically with what we do. I mean, we're selling solar. Like, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's an absolute no-brainer. So it's like when I sit down with somebody, there is absolutely no reason why they shouldn't do it.
Dude, it's refreshing to hear how simple it can be to break records. Like that's like a 3-step formula to hit your best records, to make sure that you are dialed in, but you also do it with a group of people that feel the same way. And one thing I noticed about you, and I've noticed about every single person that's done big numbers, is your team. Because Eric, for example, I mean, he was setting for you, like
crushed.
He basically hit like double digits closing and setting, which I mean just goes to show how much alignment you're able to create between you and your team, because everyone was excited. They weren't just like, oh man, this guy wants me to set for him. This guy just wants to do this. Everyone was, and it's been the case with everybody else that's hit big numbers, right? Everyone has bought into the vision of like, dude, let's do something great together. So what was that process like, getting everyone to like come together to like, let's hit massive numbers together and let's do this as a team? Because some people might take it as, oh, this is just Thooft wanting to be, you know, the big shot. But nobody at any moment had any of that.
Yeah, I think having alignment is a big thing that coming with Spartan was something that a word that maybe wasn't used nearly enough within our organization, right? Alignment. And that's so important that everybody is aligned and towards a common goal. And, you know, so it was like we wanted to do 100 deals. Like 100 deals, I wanted to do 50. Tommy, you know, Thomas Yulo wanted to do 25. And, you know, he was like the belief that we have within each other. You know, he reached out to me. He's like, I want to do a setter closer tour next month with you when we start, like, once we get into Spartan. So he really ignited a lot of this as well.
Yeah.
And he's like, because I said, I want to work solar September. I was like, I'm working full month, 30 days. Let's do it. And Tommy's like, I want to do a setter closer tour. He's like, I feel like I'm the best setter in the industry. And he's like, you're the best closer. You know, and it's like just having that belief. Are there people out there that absolutely crush it? Sure, but you can't get in my head to think that you're better. Even if you did better numbers than me, I'm still going to believe I'm the better closer. Yes, you have to when you're in sales, right? So, you know, Tommy really sparked that. And, you know, and then we all knew that we had to be aligned to accomplish those goals. You know, and I think, you know, and having open conversations with the team, like these are the goals that we have, you know, for this group of individuals that are, you know, going to stick to the routine every day. Obviously, our entire team didn't necessarily do that, right? But it was also really important for us to show the rest of the team what that consists of in terms of result at the end. So, and that was also another big point of doing it is, you know, showing when we get a fully aligned with things that are being brought up in Spartan, how that dictates and changes the results that maybe we've gotten in the past. So it's all about being all in. And, you know, you mentioned it before, Eric and I are extremely coachable, even with doing this for a long time, you know, being in the solar industry for 6 years, going on 7 years, there's still things that I'll take away from a setter that's been doing it for 2 days.
Yeah.
Like I'm not afraid to try new things.
For sure.
And, you know, we had the leadership retreat, which we were lucky to go to. Literally.
Timing was perfect.
Timing was perfect. I think it was like a couple weeks after we joined Spartan, and we implemented a ton of things when we came into effect, and some of them are going to work and some of them aren't. Yep. But you have to be okay to be like, at the end of it, if it doesn't work, to be like, hey guys, I take responsibility for it. Like, it didn't work, but we're not going to be afraid to try new things. This is not the team that we run. If we're afraid to try new things, then we're ultimately, we're limiting our ability to get better.
And your team's all in with that too.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things, because sometimes there's a way you can do it where you get into a situation where you're like, that sounds like a great idea. And you go back and you're just like, guys, this is what we're doing. I've done that in the past. Guys, this is what we're doing. I don't care what you guys say. This is it. And then there's the way where you do it in a co-collaboration, right? Which I think you experience at the leadership retreat. Like, because I've realized that's where, you know, it can't be your idea. It has to be everyone else's idea at the end of the day.
Yeah. And we take fault to that too. Like you said, I've definitely done that, and you're coming in hot and you're amped up and, you know, like you're really excited about this, but you can't get that same message across. And even in this situation, this last month, I probably didn't get that same message across as well as we wanted it to. I don't think it really clicked for, you know, specifically some of the team till after. I literally had some of the team come up after you were in the office, you know, a couple of days ago. They go up and they were like, I get it now. Like I can't imagine you doing 3 days of like being around, because obviously you were there, Florentine, Soriano, and, you know, just talking to the team and some of the new hires that we had on board. And they were fired up, and they were like, I get why after 3 days of that and just being submerged in that environment with all new information and information coming from winners, why you want to implement this stuff right off the bat.
And that's why this is so important. This is so important, guys. That's why we've decided, me and Andy, we've decided dude, quarterly leadership retreats are amazing. Timing is perfect, divine timing. Yeah. You guys came in right away. You're able to jump into a leadership retreat and fall into rhythm with what we believe and see who we are and really feel us. Now, a quarterly leadership retreat, it's just that. It's every quarter. Yep. The amount of people that come in, and we're coming in, even teams or individuals, it's just there's such a gap. They might not even make it to the point of really knowing what this is. It's like it's hard. Again, it's really hard to put it into words over a phone or words over a Zoom. It's kind of like you got to be there, which is why we've decided, and we're starting this in December. On December 14th in Orlando, we're doing the first Spartan Elliott Army Summit in Orlando, where we're bringing everybody across the whole country, the whole company, and we're inviting other top leaders. We're inviting other top setters, closers that want to join and see what this is all about. Like, at the end of the day, if it doesn't fall in alignment, you go there and it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. Like, that's good. I would rather you know that and go that way. That's completely fine. But we want to be able to put this out there more often. And then all of 2024, dude, how gangster is this? We already built out into the calendar. Every single month, starting in January until the end of 2024, there's either a leadership retreat, which is a 3-day event. It is amazing, right? We take away all technology. You really dive in and connect. Or there's a Spartan Elliott Army Summit at the Lion's Den with Andy. We might bring in people like Bradley. Who knows who else will come to these events? Like, we're going to make it big time. Big time stuff is going to happen. So that's going to be happening every single month throughout all of 2024. So we can just get more of that. Because sometimes that's all it takes. And sometimes that's all, if you're a leader listening to this too, like, your team just needs to see and feel what you see and feel. And we're like, dude, we just need to make sure we can hit people every single month. And then, boom, everyone's going to do massive things, see massive success. And we're going to feel like there's no friction. We're going to feel like there's massive trust, so we can move really, really fast together. So I think you hit like a very important part, which is like, dude, I even went to, this was like the first Andy event I ever went to. Me and Soriano went there. We go in there for the day. Michelle, my girl, she's back, staying at the hotel. I should have brought her to the event. I made a big mistake here. I thought it was just like sales. I was like, maybe this doesn't apply. I was wrong. It's not sales. This is not just sales. Like, again, this is everything. This is relationships. This is business. This is sales. This is leadership. This is fitness. Like, it's everything. So it's important to bring everybody. Right. So I didn't bring her. We left the event. We go she's picking us up and she sees all these guys and all these girls leaving. Right. Like, this massive amount of people that are, all juiced up, right? Everyone's excited. Get into the car, and she starts to try to make some jokes about, like, just the group. Like, she immediately saw, I'm here and she's here. The gap between what I felt and what she felt was so vast that I just shot every joke down. And I was almost like, we fought for like 3 days because of it.
I went through the same thing with my fiance after a Tony Robbins conference.
Dude,
I came back and was like, on this diet, and she's like, what is going on? And I just came. The delivery wasn't.
Delivery was 0 out of 10 for me.
But I think another point that you brought, it's extremely energizing, right? So like, you want people to be involved with that. Like, I would definitely want to take her to some of those events in the future. But more importantly, like you said, when you can have your team come monthly, to these events is amazing. And I think that's something that, we're extremely lucky as well, being here in Arizona, that's in our backyard. Yeah. So, I mean, it's literally 20 or 30 minutes on the street.
Couldn't have worked out better for you guys, honestly.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So this is like where we're going to be heading it, the direction we're going, which makes it so we can have that same kind of impact that your team sounds like they experience, and your team's freaking awesome. And so I just want to leave it with this, 2 things. One, and I just always want to know, what is the worst habit you've killed? I don't like saying you've quit. People say I quit this thing or I quit that, because quitting implies that you've given up something, right? Like, you've given up on it, which is a bad thing, right? Quitting is usually considered a bad thing. So we're going to call it like, what habit have you killed, or negative habit are you in the process of killing right now?
That's a great question. Definitely, like, Eric hasn't drank all year. Which I think is a huge one. I've drank a couple times throughout the year, but it's been at more of like special events or like on a vacation or something like that. And I think so that's a big one. But one that I'm working on specifically, and it's really nailed it with the physical side of it, the Earn It All app, is getting up early, right? Or like getting up at a consistent time all the time. And then, going to the, I think that's important, because you can get up early, but it's that consistency. And Adam was talking about from Earn It All, creating that standard, right? You have to have the standard. And then also when he mentioned, like, if you snooze, a lot of times you go back into REM, and then the correlation between that and heart attacks. Did you hear him say that yesterday?
It's like so many parallels.
Yeah, so many parallels. It was crazy. But just being more consistent with that routine is something that I'm in the process of killing the thought process that there can be freedom in that regard, just being more consistent in the mornings in those workouts, because the rest of it I feel like I have killed already. You know, the drinking, the smoking, the caffeine, like I don't feel a need or desire for that anymore, where it used to be like getting to the field and boom, triggered to have an energy drink. So Atomic Habits, I think, really helped with that, and realizing how so many of your habits are bad habits, right? And your good habits are good habits, and how you can lay different trigger points in there to help with that. That was also definitely a very influential book. For sure.
So guys, if you're looking to kill some of the bad habits, because we've had to kill a lot of them. I had to kill a lot of them to make this thing happen, right? To get to where we're at today. If you're looking to kill your habits, if you're looking to level up as a leader in sales, in business, in relationships, which is something I'm really working on hard with Andy and Jacqueline, like they're really, really good examples, and in fitness, then and if you want to work with Thooft in Arizona, like his team's amazing. Like him and Eric, like these guys are great teachers because they've done it for so long. They've taught so many people and they've duplicated themselves over time. They've gone through adversity, so you know that their character has been tested, so you know they're good people. They got a good heart. If you guys want to work with Eric, you want to work with Thooft, you want to work with Spartan Solar, just click the link in the bio where you're going to see me and Andy. We're going to talk to you for a bit, and then we're going to see if we're going to find some alignment. But again, we don't work with quitters. We only want some dogs, right?
100% dogs only.
And share this shit. Show the world. If you got something out of this, share the shit so Thooft can be talking to some of your friends and family. Sometimes they just need to hear the right message to put them out of the spot they're in and take them where they need to be. Let's create heaven on earth together, right, brother?
We're taking over the world.
Taking over the world.
It's been
Love you guys. See ya.